after I had an accident that put me in a wheelchair, and I only have limited use of my left hand. And even with that limited use, I was still able to do quite a bit over the years.
What are you making?
I'm making a little mallard, a little hen mallard. Just a small one.
Is it called for yet?
No.
Not yet.
I got the head carved out for it already. So his head won't fall off. But that's basically.
Can he fly yet?
No, he can't fly yet, but it'll be soon. No, I don't have a fancy wood shop, so this is how I start my decoys. I have what they call a Fordham tool with an RPM control knob right there, so I can operate it at different speeds. You can also get this kind that operate with a foot pedal like a gas pedal, but this one's by hand. The real high-tech equipment I have here is just a vise that I can put in my lap, and I put duck heads in that vise and get them roughed out, get them started before I attach them to the body itself over here. I get both the body and the head roughed out, so they're kind of close in size to one another, being cut down at the same rate, and then I'll glue the head on and then carve them together like they're one piece. So I took this fearsome device right here, this grinding tool that has a Christmas tree type shape to it, which I like because I can get into tight places. And I took that roughed out body, and yesterday, within, I don't know, a couple hours, I roughed it out to this form where I could glue the head and the body together. And this is the fun part of the carving, actually, where you take pretty much a shapeless looking, sort of looks like a duck kind of sort of, but isn't, and really start to shape it up and make it look like something. And it doesn't take very long, and it's very satisfying to do that. And that little black line on the tail of this blank and the black line there, the tail feathers on a duck go from the rear forward. They sort of go downhill, and that's the way they have to be shaped in order to properly look like a duck. Just wanted to make that point. And here's a quick little update on where this duck is going. Little by little, I'm whipping it into shape. I'm mainly working on the head. I like sort of a waviness to all my duck carvings, and so I do that by cutting deep behind his neck so it goes into the body, and then I cut high up under his chin so it sort of has a backward S looking shape to it. Got the head largely worked out, sort of highlighting the wing feathers a little bit on its back. There's a little lump in the rear under his wingtip feathers, which will be those little curly cues that are on a Drake mallard. But so far I've invested about 4 hours time in this duck from the time it was just a blanked out block of wood. Come to another junction where I'm getting rid of the big grinding tool, and I'm going to, I've gotten another cutting handle that accommodates smaller bits, and right there is a cutting wheel that comes in real handy. And whereas I've drawn the feathers on the back of this duck, I'm going to cut underneath of each one of them, kind of relieve them so that they'll stand up a little higher on its back. Now, duck feathers lay pretty flat ordinarily with live duck swimming. Every once in a while wind will hit them from the rear end direction and lift feathers. So I like to lift them a little bit anyway, just to sort of highlight that they are feathers. So here we go. Okay, here we are. I've invested about 6 hours into this duck so far. I only used 2 tools so far. The coarse grinding head off there on the lower left of that handle, and that flywheel looking thing down below, is the only things I've used so far to bring the duck to this point. I'm going to use that yellow sanding disc now next, which is a great thing. It both cuts feathers sharply and sands things real smooth. Almost makes sanding a duck after it's finished carved obsolete. It does such a good job. So I'm going to do that for now, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Okay, I've worked another hour, a little over an hour, on this duck with that yellow sanding disc to smooth the duck down and sort of outline a lot of the feathers. And what I'm going to do now is take a little thin saw blade, and I'm going to go between all the feathers on its back and on its tail and kind of separate the feathers, so like a real duck, as best I can, and keep moving on with the process. I got about 8 hours invested into this duck now. I took that saw, a diamond saw cutter, and went underneath all the wingtips and feathers on this bird. It's a real thin saw, I should have shown it. And I'm going to use a round burr now to do the eye sockets. And male mallards have those little curlicue feathers in the back of their tail, so I marked with a magic marker where I'm going to drill holes with the eyes and with the tail holes. There's not a lot to see with this little interlude, but I did drill out the eye sockets and did the curlicues on the, drilled the holes for the curlicues on the tail, and I'll have to shape them up and make them look more presentable than they do right now. But from this stage on, it's a lot of detail work. Nostrils, under the beak. It just, you don't see a lot of change, but you do invest a lot of time. And I guess I have, well, still, I'd say 8 hours or under 8 hours into this duck so far. All right, I got about 14 hours in this duck since it was first a block of wood. These are the different little angles of it. All the tail feathers I carved, the wing feathers kind of overlap. I even did the underneath the beak where the mouth separates. Just put in the glass eyes, got a little paint smeared around, drilled all the nostril holes in both sides, got the curlicue feathers that Drake mallards have, carved them right out of the original block. So I got about roughly 14 or so hours into this thing, rough estimate, and now from here on out I'm going to start wood burning it, and I'll cover some phases of that as well. Whenever I finish a duck and start the wood burning, I write on the bottom with the wood burner what it is, when I made it, and my signature all burned in. When I start the wood burning process, I just outline the feathers. I burn underneath each feather to kind of get out all the wooden fuzzies that are there from the tools. And then I burn in what you call the spine of the feather, of the center of the feather, and mark that, and of course burn lines that go in opposite directions. So this is where I've taken it so far, and then I'm going to just wood burn the entire body to give it a soft feathery look. But I'm done carving on this mallard, hen mallard it's going to be, and I'm going to get ready to do some wood burning on it. I took a thin saw like thing and went over its head to give it more of a soft fluffy look by the time I finish wood burning it. But it's gonna undergo a lot of changes from this point on. I thought I'd go ahead and show this phase of the process. Since this is a hen mallard, I do almost all the coloring with a wood burner. I don't know anybody else who does that, but I do it because it seems to look better, softer looking. But anyway, the way I start the process off is to basically outline what you call the spine of each feather, which is that long straight line. Just for the record, I've been wood burning on this thing for the last 2.5 hours or so since I last videotaped it. So I thought I'd take a little video of the progress that's been coming along with it. Got a long way to go yet. Still got a wood burn the other side of it. 60% done as far as wood burning, and then there's got to come some painting and wood stain stuff on it too. But this is where I am now. Slightly different angle. Alright, I'm making a hen mallard, and I do something that nobody else I've seen do before, and that's put the final feathering design in with the wood burner. And so I burn each little feather in like this, and give it that. What I like about this, and I've never seen anybody else do it, is it gives the feather and the whole entire duck a softer look. And so, and then after I do burn all these feathers in like that, it still looks rather harsh and abrupt. I mean, that might even look pretty good, but what looks even better is, like you see in the front of this duck here, I used the pen as like you would if you had a pencil and you were shading a drawing. And so I break up the harshness of the original lines of the feather with the wood burner, and make the whole image look softer. And that's what I've done here with the front of this duck. I've gone over all those feathers and broke up the silhouette, like you can see on the top here. These big feathers on top have all been burned in with the big lines, and then I softened them up with just shading it with the pen. And that's where you can, like the other side here, I've burned all the big feathers in, but I haven't broken it up yet like this to make the feathers look soft. And I'll just go over the entire duck that way. And of course, all these are burned in dark. The edge of these feathers have to be painted white. The wing patches will be like a purplish blue with white and black on either ends of the wing patches. So there's still a lot left to do on this duck. Most of it's behind me, of course, but this is just one of the processes that I wanted to cover that gives the duck its super soft look. And if anybody else has done this, made the entire feather pattern, especially on a hen mallard, like I have, I've never heard of it. This is an idea of my own thinking, and it's not entirely like you would see a hen mallard. I don't paint everything like some people might if they were just painting it, but this does such a good job of making the duck look soft that I've just adopted it, whatever shortcomings they may be, and it has sort of glamorized the hen mallard. The hen of any duck or bird is usually the blander looking of the two, between the male and the female. The female is always the bland looking one, but because I've done this feather patterning with the wood burner, I've suddenly made the hen mallard become a #1 top seller, and people like it so much because it looks so soft and so realistic that I've probably made more hen mallards in my life by far than any other duck, because people just like the soft look that I do with the wood burner, and it makes it look so real. So I've made the otherwise unglamorous hen duck, a hen mallard, suddenly become the most popular of all the carvings I make because of how I do the wood burning of the final feather details. Well, I've taken this hen mallard another step forward. You see in the background there's some walnut wood stain, and what I do with that is I go over the crown of the duck, the top part of the duck, and along that slice of dark that goes through its eye, and the back wing feathers and some other back wing tip feathers and other wing feathers. I've stained very dark, but I'm not done with them either. They get white trim on some of them, and of course the beak needs to be painted, and the blue purple wing patch needs to be painted. It's still got a little bit of work left to do on it, but it's coming into home stretch. I just thought I'd get a movie of it at this point, because it's still going to change a lot. On a drake mallard like this, or any male bird that requires painting in the entirety, I just wood burn it all over this way, and then I'll paint on top of it. And it requires a little bit of thinking, because the wood burning has to sort of go with the flow of the feathers, sort of a swirly down off the head through the neck, and then sweeping up along the sides, the high sides and low portions of the side of the breast. The guard feathers, they go downward, where the upper part of the guard feathers go upward. But it requires a little thinking too to do the wood burning. Alright, at this point the wood burning's done, and I sprayed it with a clear lacquer. It doesn't matter if it's high gloss or dull. I'm just sealing the bird up after it's been wood burned, so when I put the acrylic paint on it, which is water based, it won't swell up the wood burning and diminish everything I did with the feather detail. And there's a sharpening stone I got nearby, which I use with my wood burner, because as you use the wood burner, after a while it starts to, you feel that it's not giving a sharp cut into the wood anymore, and so I rake the blade over that sharpening stone every so often to you can feel it gives a sharper cut into the wood. So after this, I paint the entire duck white, which I'll show, and then begins the regular final colors to it. Alright, this is the beginning of the painting part of the duck, which I like the least. Has to be done, but I painted it completely white, and just like a artist who does a painting starts with a white canvas, you got to start with a white duck. Alright, I have 22 hours or so into this duck, maybe 23, and I've used all kinds of different colors, of course, that I could buy over the counter with having to mix them up. I have hooker green to the rear, holly branch green for the head, bronze yellow for the beak, nimbus gray for the body. So that's and I didn't have to mix any colors up to paint this duck, which is one good thing about doing mallards. So it's got a long way to go. I just slapped down these base colors, and there's a lot more there's a lot more purple to a green head mallard than you would think. Alright, I finished up my hen mallard project here. I had to paint certain parts of the bird just to sort of make it look a little more like a hen mallard, which included some back feathers and tail feathers, and of course those wing patches that mallards have, and of course the beak. But when I did the white patches on the back and on the tail, the white lines that I painted on there were too harsh and abrupt, and they too needed to be softened up. So the way I did the rest of the duck, by shading it, you might as well call it, going with the wood burner over the entire duck, just making a bunch of thousands of little lines. I did the same thing with the feathers I had painted white, and so I cut through those as well with the wood burner to make them look softer, more like feathers. And but I'm going to start another pair of mallards, a smaller pair, and they start out like that. Going to be a male and female. You can buy blanks like this, but if you don't, then you have to own a bandsaw or know somebody who does, and cut out the blanks like that to get started, get a rough shape of a duck, and then take it from there. And I finished the Drake Mallard I was working on, and below you'll see another decoy that I made. The only difference between those two ducks is 40 years. I started the lower duck after I had an accident that put me in a wheelchair, and I worked on that duck in 1984, and now the duck above it is 2024, so there's a 40-year difference. And the lower duck, when I made that, I thought I had reached the pinnacle of perfection, but time changes opinions and how you go about making ducks. So, in the late 1970s, I was fortunate enough to meet the Ward brothers working in their shop just like this. I sat with them for a while and watched them work, and Steve Ward autographed a newspaper they were in at the time. He signed his name, and signed the name for his brother Lem, because his Lem was preoccupied doing some painting work just like it is in this photograph of them. So we visited for a little while, and then we left. When carving decoys, something that helps a great deal is to have good mounts, good models to go by. And I'm fortunate to have quite a few. I got many of these ducks when I was hunting during my glory days in Dorchester County, Maryland. All kinds, all species, all come in very handy. Mounts aren't perfect, but they help a lot in making carvings. Aside from sitting ducks and geese like this snow goose, that's a canvasback mount, by the way, but these are some flying ducks that I've done, carvings. Blue-winged teal, ringneck duck, wood duck, got a little prize for that one. Mallard that won some awards, and a bufflehead up high to the right there. But just more carvings that I've done. These are other carvings I've done over the years. High in the center there's a mule deer I've done, and carved antelope and bear heads and fox heads and a bobcat, a lot of bears, antelope, raccoon hiding back there. Different things I've done over the years with carving, but I like waterfowl the most. As a grand finale to my presentation, I put together a bunch of carvings that I've done over the years. There's so many different ones here. There's the hooded merganser up front, the wood duck off to the right, the canvasback, green-winged teal off to the left, blue and green-winged teal more to the left, little Drake Mallard to the left, a goldeneye to the left, a brant behind that, Canada goose behind that, a wood duck I did that was standing up, and then I have a snow goose right in the middle, and then I have two different mallards, one in a conventional posture and one with its wing lifted up in a preening position. But this is what I've been able to do. Just using one hand, that's all I got left. And but if you have the determination and figure out the right tools and the right way to hold them, you can do a lot with a little. Alright, these are the different carvings I've done over the years. Some of these carvings are, believe it or not, are about 40 years old, and a lot of them are 15 and 20 years old, and some of them are fairly new. But this is what I've been doing over the years, and I got a cedar muskrat here in my lap that I did a while back just out of curiosity, just to do a muskrat out of cedar and just shellacked it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share with the audience here that what I was able to do with less than one hand to carve with. I only have limited use of my left hand, and and even with that limited use, I was still able to do quite a bit over the years. But that's pretty much all about me, what I've done and how I've progressed over the years with very little carving equipment, very bare bones what I use to make these decoys.